This video is brought to you by nobody. Hello, you worms. Welcome back to another episode of Gab O'Clock. What's Gab O'Clock, you ask? Well, it's basically just a show where I don't script anything and nothing is really thought out well or planned. I'm just talking at you and you just listen. Think of it as like a radio show. So I hope you enjoy. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew that I wanted to make art. I wanted to draw all the silly little things possible for as long as I could. And as a 29-year-old guy now, I find myself chasing that same sparkle and high as I had as a little kid. Like, you know, I'm gonna draw this and this and being excited and just pulling out a piece of paper and just drawing. I have been chasing that ever since I turned like 25 or 26. Like, I've been just chasing that. It's not even about being an incredible, amazing artist anymore for me. It is literally about trying to make art as exciting as possible again. And the closest that I can get to this feeling is when I open MS Paint. Not even joking. Like, I feel such a joy when I use this program. When I open up Paint, I'm like, yay, let's start drawing. Like, I immediately start drawing. There's no hesitation. There's no me looking at the canvas and being like, oh no, what do I draw? Like, I don't get that feeling. I just open it and I color my background a nice color that won't pierce my fucking corneas, and I just get to it, and it's so easy for me. And for me, it doesn't matter if the drawings come out ugly or anything, because I feel like that's kind of the expectation that I had anyways. And I don't know, MS Paint also just feels, it's like a program that's just been with you. It's been with you since the beginning. It's been with all of us. She's been there. She's raised us. She's watched us become adults. Like, here's one of my first drawings I think I saved ever on MS Paint. And I love this. I love it so much. I remember drawing this too, and I remember having so much fun. I just had a mouse in a dream. And yeah, it's just so, I just love it. I remember using the spray can and thinking this was like the height of fucking digital art technology. It was awesome. I do find myself like feeling really nostalgic for like the early, really clunky tech of like the technically late 2000s, but yeah, like I remember this program. I don't know what the fuck it was called, but it was like embedded. It was like a printer and scan program, I think. It was embedded in like a Windows Vista, which was one of the worst at the time, one of the worst operating systems. But yeah, I would have to scan my drawings because I didn't have a tablet, and I would color it with this program, but it was so archaic. It was so bad, and I think this was the moment where I was like, I don't think the cool artists who are really professional and awesome are using this program that I'm using to make art. So I had to like basically look it up and figure out what the fuck are people using? How do they draw on the computer like that with a mouse? And I realized they're not using a mouse, they're using a tablet and they're using Photoshop. But Photoshop was like $500,000, so I ended up just downloading Paint Tool Sci and getting a tablet. And then eventually I moved on to Photoshop CS5, a crack that I legally downloaded and I am paying for, obviously, that I still use to this day. Loved using that, though it was a very rough learning curve, but I eventually got used to it. And then now I am using Clip Studio Paint, and Clip Studio Paint had quite a learning curve as well, but the brush engine the brush engine is great. It is a great program. It is so awesome for drawing. It is incredible for coloring. I fucking love coloring in Clip Studio Paint. I love this program. I love the brushes I made. It's like the only brushes I use to draw. But with that being said, I somehow still find myself running back into the pixelated arms of Microsoft Paint. Why, you may ask? Well, I think despite all that programs like Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop, like the latest Photoshop, like has to offer, I think I'm starting to realize that I kind of prefer the simplicity of MS Paint. Like, there's no like layers, there's no fucking 3D models, texture packs, dog cam, cat cam.
6 consoles, 10 computers, bunch of fucking wires, sound pads, speakers, antenna, satellite, dog cam, cat cam.
Like, it is just the program, you, and God. That's it. No other fancy shit. And it's not that I don't like using Clip Studio or Photoshop. I mean, the Photoshop I have is a very, very archaic Photoshop, which I'll go into details why I still use that one. But I don't mind like all the tools that Clip Studio has to offer. I use those tools, but I think especially in moments where I get very overwhelmed and I get art blocked or burnt out, I find that programs like that feel very just overwhelming. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, I have to use all these tools properly, or I'm basically wasting the program. I have to, when I open Clip Studio Paint, I better make sure I make like a masterpiece, a beautiful polished masterpiece, or that's a waste of the program. And I know that's silly. That's a silly way to think of art programs, because art programs are meant for you to paint whatever the fuck you want, however the hell you want to. But I think it's very similar to how when you buy a very expensive sketchbook that's like $30 and has really high quality paper and it's mixed media, and you're really excited to like get in there and paint and draw, but the moment you open it, you're kind of frozen because you realize I spent a lot of money on this, or this sketchbook is for professionals. This is a professional sketchbook, so I gotta make professional art in it. And you just sit there and nothing gets done, and your sketchbook never gets filled. And I know with, again, like with Clip Studio, like I don't have to fucking make fancy schmancy pieces, but I think whenever I see like basically what Clip Studio I guess stands for, which is like professional work, very polished pieces, you know, like it does make me feel like I'm not using the program to its fullest potential. With MS Paint, I just open the program and I just go in. I go in there like swimwear. Like, it doesn't matter what it's gonna look like because the program is already associated with like silly, crude drawings. So that's kind of what I expect to do when I open MS Paint. Another reason why I like using MS Paint is because it has like just no brush engine. It has no technologies that make the brush work any nicer. I guess it doesn't make it work the same way it would in Photoshop or in Clip Studio Paint or any other like art program. You get what you put down, and it's very different from Clip Studio because Clip has this thing, I call it the smoothing, where like it sort of corrects your brush strokes so that it just looks a little bit smoother, a little nicer, and I don't like it. And listen, this is a good technology. This is a positive technology. It's great for people who have really shaky hands, can have bad control. That's great. I just wish there was an option to completely turn it off without fucking everything. Like, and I'm not talking about like the brush ones, because I know in the brush they have correction and you can turn that off. But I know that it's not completely off because I turn off all of the correctors, all of it. And yet, when I draw, the smoothing still happens. I can feel a force between my brush and the program that's doing something that I don't want. And I just feel like I'm not in control. I don't know if you guys feel this same way as I do about it, but yeah, it bugs the shit out of me because I really, again, I like to feel like I'm 100% in control. Because when I'm drawing on a paper or my sketchbook, there's no smoothing, there's no dark forces controlling like where or how my pen moves. I know I sound like an evangelicist from the 1980s, but like that's how I think about it. And so when I draw in MS Paint, which has no brush engine, no smoothing, no correction, none of that shit, no stabilization, it makes my brain think, I guess it makes my brain think I'm drawing traditionally, which makes me very happy, thus makes it feel good to use MS Paint. It's also why I still use the 14-year-old, very archaic, legally obtained Photoshop art program, because it has the same like really shit or lack of like brush engine, where it like there's this thing that it does where if you draw without zooming in, your lines look like fucking dress shirts that haven't been ironed in like years. And this happens in MS Paint as well, where if you like just like what I'm doing, how I'm drawing, I'm not zoomed in. If you zoom in, you can see, I'm using a different example, but you can see that the lines are just crumpled up. And like, look at that. Like there's just nothing you can do about that unless you like zoom in really close and draw. But I don't mind the lines, the wrinkles too much, because I feel like it kind of gives my pieces a little bit of a crude and like raw look to it, which I love. I also think paint really encourages a doodle mindset, which I love that. I do not doodle in any other program as much as I do with MS Paint. Like when I say it feels like you're drawing on a sketchbook, it really does, because sometimes I'll doodle in Clip Studio and stuff, but again, like the smoothing will happen and I'll get filled with that feeling of, I can't just doodle in this program. Look at all these tools that I have that I'm not using. So it's nice to just go on MS Paint and just draw whatever. Like the one of the best pieces of media we've ever seen came from MS Paint. Like what is that? The Tails gets trolled. That's an MS Paint comic, and it's just so, the expression is so human. It's so raw, so real. And I feel like it could not have been captured in any other program but Paint. I know there's lots of artists that use this program as like their main program to make really polished pieces, where people will see it and they'll be like, oh my god, I didn't know you used MS Paint. And I'm like, that's actually really cool. That's awesome. That's great. But I personally like when it looks like I used MS Paint. I don't mind if my shit has like that little white line when you try and use the fill bucket. I don't mind that stuff. I like when it looks a little ignorant, when it looks a little kooky and silly. I don't mind that, because that's the beauty of the program. Which is why I'm so upset with the latest like edition of this program. I didn't even find out that MS Paint like had updated, because I guess I hadn't used it yet. I had just gotten my new computer and I wasn't really using Paint like that. I was still using Clip Studio. But I got a message where someone was like, hey, like, did you know that MS Paint has layers now? And I'm like, what, really? And then I clicked on like an article, I guess, that was like, guess what, guys, MS Paint has layers now. Now you can totally use MS Paint as your main program. And it's like, wow, what an insult to me. If I want to use a program that has layers, that has rotation, that has all this shit, I'll go on an art program that I paid for that. I'll go on Clip Studio. I'll go on Photoshop. I don't go on MS Paint to use layers. I don't need the gadgets, the gizmos, the knick-knack paddywhacks. I don't need all that shit. And just to make sure I'm not being an old man that yells at cloud and is super biased, I actually went into MS Paint, the recent Paint, just to see what it was like, and just instantly the vibes feel weird. And I know it's because I'm so used to the other interface, but I'm not a fan of the claustrophobic like toolbar. There's so many things on here that I don't know, like even like the circular like paints, they feel, it feels like it's too much somehow. I feel like the squares made more sense. All right, maybe I'm nitpicking. I also don't like that it has like my icon and it says that I'm signed in to MS Paint. And can I just say, I'm so tired of your email being connected to everything in Microsoft, because it's like, what if I lose access to that email? Do my images disappear? I don't know. I don't trust like that. I would say at worst, this program is just different. It's just different and you don't need layers. That's what I would say. That's what I would say had it not had integrated this fucking blasted AI image generator machine. What the fuck? Like, I know that AI is like the new thing for tech bros and stuff, but why do you need this in MS Paint? Why do you need an AI image generator in Microsoft Paint? That makes no sense. Speaking of sense, they actually introduced some weird fucking like Microsoft Paint pennies, I don't know, coins to like use the AI. They've introduced currency in MS Paint. I don't understand why they're doing this. Why every fucking company needs to fucking brute force AI into every program, but it's so fucking annoying. Can you imagine being like a 9-year-old and opening MS Paint and just typing shit in a generator? Like, why do you even need the other tools at that point? I just feel like this really defeats the purpose of MS Paint, and like the part of what makes it so fun is the fact that you can make art out of limited tools. And when you take that away and you just give everyone everything, I sound like a fucking capitalist. No matter what you're doing, whether it is a digital art or traditional art, there is a point where you have to figure out how to get over a hump, how to simplify something, you know, like making storyboards, color keys, all things that are an integral part of the art process. When you put in a program that basically says, hey, don't sweat it, kid, just type whatever you want and the image of your dreams will appear, kiddo, you are incredibly limiting a person or child's creative ability. And on top of that, they have to pay Microsoft MS Paint pennies. That is a disgrace and domestic terrorism. With that all being said, I highly encourage you guys to look for an older version of MS Paint. Don't use the demon that you have in your computer. Go back and find an older version of MS Paint. Be it XP version, the very like first version or whatever. Like, just look for an older version. I recommend the XP one. I think that one's great. That one's awesome. But download that and just draw in it. Just draw in that program. Don't try and make the Mona Lisa. Don't try and make anything incredible or fascinating to show off and print screen like the toolbar to be like, hey, guess where I made this. Like, don't do that. You don't need to do that. Just paint in it. Just make your art in it and see how it makes you feel. Is it fun? Is it frustrating? Do you feel like you're like a caveman? You're like Gorg drawing, like carving in his wall? Like, does it feel like you're a kid again? Like, truly just use that paint and just have fun in it. Because especially in an environment that we are in now artistically, we are so discouraged as artists. And I'm specifically talking to you youngins, you young guys.
But I've gotten to the point, you should know this too, that I feel like you guys are very much discouraged to be bad. Like, it feels like you can't even use crayons as crayons. Like, it's like you still have to make it worthwhile, make it some kind of masterpiece. It's like everyone, like the youngins, it's like you guys are constantly competing with each other. And I understand why. It's because you're beginners, and when you're surrounded by younger beginners as well, like, there's gonna be competition. But it's so bad now because everyone is online. Everyone is online. So if you're online with other people who are trying to improve, it will get competitive. Which is why I'm going to tell you right now, delete TikTok. I'm so serious. Delete TikTok. Log off that shit. That shit is the devil. There's demons in there. But also, like, it's such a terrible place to post art. And I know when people like make those TikTok art drama videos, a lot of it is like sought out. Like, these people do look for drama in art TikTok, but there is like so many unique dramas in art TikTok. Like, it's like sub dramas of other sub dramas. There's so much drama, and a lot of it is like based on competitiveness and just picking on people who are beginners or feeling jealous of the improvement of beginners, or so-called beginners, I guess, because apparently people are like, there's people who are like lying as well about being beginners. I've seen also on YouTube like people just pretending to be quote-unquote bad at art and then surprising the person with the real cool version of it. And again, like, I feel like those videos are pretty harmless, but it does unintentionally add to the aversion of being a beginner or a novice at the craft. And it's no offense, this is not being mean, but it's like half the people who make these videos, you are very much still in the same journey as the people you claim to be pretending to be. And again, it's not being mean. That doesn't mean your art is bad. It just means you are also clearly developing your style, developing your work. And it's I don't know, it's just like, it feels like it's a way for people to like be like, oh yeah, but it's not like I draw like this. But it's like, you kind of do. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. And again, it's not me saying don't ever make those videos, but it's just an observation is all. If there's one thing that I could tell myself, if there's one thing I would tell my past self, my beginner artist self, is why are you doing this and why is it fun? Why do you like making art? That's what I would ask them. I want to ask the secret sauce to enjoying art again, because it has been hard for me lately. Like, I'd give anything to have the confidence and the joy of someone who just started drawing. I truly would. I think only just recently I was able to actually really enjoy myself, and that was when I did a stream a couple weeks back. I did a stream and I just did it because I'm like, I gotta finish this shit, whatever. And I just doodled on MS Paint to just close the stream, and I had so much fun. It was such a blast. And in that moment, I remembered why I liked drawing so much. And it's just because it just feels good to create and see visions come to life, even if it's like a sloppy little paint doodle. Like, it's just so fun to see it come to life. And having you guys there with me, not to be parasocial, but having you guys there with me really did help. So thank you to those who were there cheering me on. It really meant a lot. And now that I'm just thinking about, I guess, myself and this program, it's very interesting and almost poetic how, as a teenager or as a kid, I felt like MS Paint was a program that I had to graduate from, and in order to be a real serious artist. Whereas now it's literally become my go-to program. There are days where I do not even open Photoshop or Clip Studio. Like, I will just spend all day on MS Paint doing studies, doodling, and even doing like actual pieces in it. And I just think that's really cool. I think Paint is a very, very versatile, strong, and solid art program. I truly think that if you as an artist only have access to MS Paint,
I think you're good. I truly don't think you need all the extra bits. Maybe layers, I guess. Yeah, probably layers, which the new MS Paint has now. So it feels like there's really no reason to... Yes, Mom. There's no reason to like collect a bunch of fancy programs, is what I'm saying. All that you need is an MS Paint. So with that being said, I hope you guys decide to download the program, use the program, see what you think of it. Will you find yourself agreeing with me and praising my every word, or will you think I'm a complete and utter hack? I don't know, up to you. Did any of this make sense? I don't know, but thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning into this Gab o'clock, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Also, do forgive me, I completely forgot to talk about the art I was making. But here's the pieces. They're all just wrestling fan art. Some by memory and some by direct reference. And it's just a fun way for me to just kind of get my doodle muscles going. So yeah, I hope you liked these as much as I do. I love these. Yeah. I'd like to give a big thank you to my patrons Star, Finn, McMarthy, Fred by Dawn, Ragna, Lao Meg, Snooka Snurk, Bromivs, Worthy Kids, Clown Snot, Skoen Stotus, Lunchworms, Sneeze, Renee, Melody, Isle of Lines, Inga, EP, Stinky Poo Poo, Izzy Is, Grayson, Indy, Halo, Catherine, Cat, April, Kennedy B, Mariah, Faith, Wizard Fancier, Kip, Al, L, The Gay Cousin, Art by Khan, Jasper, Stark, Mochi, Pippi G, Tired Eldritch, Scout, Pidge, Fish, Adri M, Expensi X, Grapefruit Soda Hibiscus, Shmoky, Ipeen, Kendra, Mendu, Gale Snail, and Flighty Butt Lass. Thank you so much for your incredible names. And thank you so much for choosing to continue and start to support my Patreon. We have a lot of fun on Patreon. I post lots and lots and lots of things that I haven't posted yet. I post previews and works in progresses. I post time lapses that I don't feel like posting. I post all the ugly art that I don't like that I'll eventually post later when I remember to. Every month, or I try to every month, I have a Patreon character poll where you guys just list a bunch of characters you'd like for me to draw, and then I put them all in a hat and I pick out 2 to fight, and whoever wins gets drawn by me. Here's some previous winners. Cool, right? Pretty nice. So if you want that chance, feel free to join my Patreon. And of course, because I have hit my $250 a month goal a month ago, I think, I am working tirelessly on the stylization tutorial, which is coming along pretty nicely. I'll probably set up another goal for another tutorial, maybe bodies, who knows, but we'll see how this one does. We'll see how it goes, but I'm very excited to continue working on this and update you guys on the progress on Patreon. So again, thank you for your support if you've supported me, and if you'd like to check it out, please, link is in the description. See you later.